How do you get your first software engineering job? That's a question that a lot of people have in their minds that they might be struggling to do, and I'm going to talk to you today in this video about doing just that. And I'm going to share some insights that I've had over the last 10 years of working as a full stack software engineer, and also my experience of helping others get through this process as well. So the first thing that I think should be noted is that a lot of people have a lot of anxiety and a lot of self-doubt when it comes to achieving their first software engineering job. And what that looks like is that a lot of people will start to say, okay, well, maybe I shouldn't be a software engineer. Maybe I should just start as like a tester, or maybe I should start in support and work my way up to being a software engineer. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is called self-doubt. It's not going to help you become a software engineer. It's not going to help you get the role that you actually want. In fact, it is going to most likely harm your chances of ever becoming a software engineer, because you're going to be learning a completely different skill set in a different type of role. So I encourage you, if you are actually wanting to be a software developer, to really aim for that and settle for absolutely nothing less. Now, the other way that self-doubt comes into this is that a lot of people have in their mind, and it seems like it would make logical sense, but if you think about it a little bit deeper, it doesn't make any sense at all, which is that you think, I'm going to start at a company and I'm going to start in like a low paying position and I'm going to work my way up to like a high paying position. And what I've encouraged people to think about is that if you actually desire to work in a company that's really good, that pays really well, you don't want to settle for some shitty salary at some shitty company to quote unquote work your way up. Because if you think about it logically, the companies that are doing really well, the best companies out there, actually are the best paying companies as well. And so I know a lot of people think, oh, you know, the pay and the package that I get, it's not that important. But it is important because it is a marker of the quality of the company. The companies that don't make much money are the low paying companies. This is something that not like hardly anyone will tell you out there. But this is something that I've experienced for myself, having gone for actually really good paying companies and help others get a high paying first job. And this means the difference. This could be the difference in between getting like a $60,000 job and a $100,000 job when you're just starting out. And a lot of you might be thinking it's impossible to get a $100,000 job just starting out. And ladies and gentlemen, it is not impossible. I've helped people achieve that. So, and in this video, there's no ulterior motive. I'm not trying to get you to sign up to anything. This is just literally just me telling you about my experience. I've got no reason to make things up around that whatsoever. And it is 100% true. So if you go for a low paying company, you can expect that company to actually be worse than a higher paying company. And so now you might be thinking, well, how do I actually make it through that interview process? A lot of people can't even get interviews. And I'll tell you why you can't get an interview. It's because your experience and the way that you're positioning yourself is not in alignment with the way that the things that the company is wanting. So in order to get your foot in the door into a company, you have to specifically line up your skill set with the things that the company is wanting. If they say they want a C# .NET developer, then you should say you are a C# .NET developer. And this is a big mistake that a lot of people make, because you think, I want a software engineering job. I don't even care what language, what frameworks, what technologies they work with. Now that's okay if you are being some kind of polyglot consultant. But if you're joining a company that uses a specific set of technologies, you better have on your LinkedIn profile, on your CV, that you specialize in those technologies. Now, a third thing that people do as a mistake when they're going for a job is that they call themselves junior developers. And you might be thinking, well, I am a junior developer, I don't have the experience, and so on and so forth. However, it's not your job to label yourself and to say, this is where I fit into your company. That's the company's job. They have various levels. They have various, I forget what you call it, but it's like these bands, and the bands match to your level and your salary and the package that you're going to get. And they will say to you, okay, we believe with our company that you fit within this band that we've predefined. So it's not up to you to say, this is what level I'm at. Leave that for the company. Just call yourself a software engineer, because it's not lying. It's completely 100% true. You are a software engineer. And as a software engineer, this is also a big thing. A lot of people come out of like coding boot camps, or even if you're self-learned. Well, what is a software developer? A software developer is someone that develops software. And if you haven't developed any software, then people aren't going to see you as a software developer. And this is where people will say, well, you should contribute to open source, you should have your own personal projects, you should have a GitHub with some software up on it. So you just need to prove that in some way you have developed software in the past, because that's what a company is hiring you to do. They're hiring you to develop software. They want people that are interested in developing software. If you've just gone and done a bunch of tutorials on Udemy or done some kind of course, and you haven't actually taken the learnings from that and implemented it somehow into something that you've done, then by definition, like, you're not much of a software developer. You're more like a tutorial taker. People don't want tutorial takers. They want people that have actually applied their knowledge. So that's something else to point out. And once you really narrow down exactly, these are the technologies that I'm going for, it's going to decrease the number of companies that you are applying to, but it's going to make you more valuable, and it's going to allow you to focus your mind on the things that are really important. On, these are the technologies that I need to be studying, that I need to be able to answer interview questions for. And then once you've really narrowed down your focus on how you're positioning yourself, it's just about making it through that interview process. And in different countries, also different companies, there are different types of interview processes. So in America, if you're going for like Facebook or Apple, they've got a very different process than companies that you might not have actually heard of before. And I've been in some interviews where it's literally just a conversation. I have a conversation and then it's a yes or no. And, not straight away, but maybe in a couple days later. But it's literally me sitting at a table, telling them about my experience. And I actually think that's a bit of a red flag, to be honest. I would rather go through a more structured interview process that has more steps, that has the coding test, that has the coding test extension exercise, that has a behavioral interview. I would rather go through that process, because I know that when I get into the company and other people are being employed beside me, that they've gone through that same process and they've met a minimum level within that process. And so the big takeaway is to really understand what is the process that you're about to go through. Now, how do you do that? Well, one way is to actually just reach out to people online and talk to them about the process that they've been through at a company that you might be interested in applying for. That is one way of doing that. Another way is to look at websites like Glassdoor, where you can actually see what people write about it and the things that they had to do in order to get that job or be given an offer. And you want to make sure that you're prepared to go through that process. This is another mistake that a lot of people make because they get impatient. They don't want to wait to go and start applying for these companies. But guys, you have to realize that this applying for a job is just the first step in the process of getting the job. there are different gates, and if you, as you go through the interview process, it's like a gate opens up if you pass and you're allowed through to the next area. And then there's another gate, and you have to perform well in that area for the gate to open and for you to move through to the next step. So you have to be prepared for all those steps. And if you're not prepared, as soon as you fail at one of those steps, you're out. And also, you're not going to be able to apply at that company for another 6 to 12 months. So this is something that you have to be aware of. And when it comes to the interview game, it's really important to understand exactly what those steps are so that you can be prepared as you can be to make it through each of those stages, to have those doors open for you so that at the end stage, you can have the door open and they give you an offer. So that's a bunch of thoughts. I know it's like, it's really, there's a lot involved in the process of finding a job. And the main takeaway is to really put in the effort to understand what that process is. And at each stage, put in a crazy amount of effort at each stage. I know a lot of coding tests, they might say this should take you 3 or 4 hours. I never spend 3 or 4 hours on that coding test. I always spend like probably 2 days on the coding test to make sure that the code is the best code that I can write for that coding test, and that it's in a state where it's easy to extend once I get to the next stage. Because I know that a company is going to ask me to extend the software that I wrote. And so I want to make it easy for myself when I'm in the interview process to pass the next stage. And you can only do that once you actually understand what the process is and the things that you're going to be asked to do within that process. So I hope that was really valuable for you. I'm making all sorts of videos at the moment. If there's something that you're interested in particular, please let me know and I'd be happy to make a video on that. So good luck out there. If you're interested, watch some of my other videos. Otherwise, keep safe and I'll see you in the next one.